Finally, a game I'm good at. They gave me 7 whole days to die and I managed in less than 1. I swear, games just don't challenge you the way they used to. In today's humble opinion, we're joining The Walking Dead in 7 Days to Die. If you've ever thought to yourself that the original premise of Fortnite was fantastic but wish that it had Minecraft-inspired graphics and old-school RuneScape combat, this game is everything that you could have ever hoped for and more. Though it has been sold as an early access title in alpha for about 5 years now, so I guess I was kind of hoping that it could have reached a broader demographic at this point. Since I've all but talked your ear off about my gripes with the survival sandbox genre, I'm going to give the spotlight to someone else. A guest review by my good friend Joe, who advocates the merits of games like these. He was enthusiastic about playing and insisted that it would be fun, and he actually managed to get me to have a good time. So I think he'll offer a fresh and honest perspective. Without further ado, Joe.
Alright, I'm done with this fucking game. All therefore, you can suck my cock, you shit fucking piece of garbage.
Ooh, that's tough, and not nearly long enough for a review. So let's see if we can break down why it was that Joe and I had such a terrible time playing this game. It all starts with expectation. The game has been in alpha for at least 5 years, unless there's some development phase before that I'm not aware of, and sure, game development takes a while. But as a consumer, I don't know what's normal and what's not for an alpha cycle. I just know that a stable enough to sell version has been out for 5 years and that when I load it up, this is what I get. To be more direct, the game looks like ass. Like an early access Sega Saturn title if Sega Saturn had early access, which it did not. Granted, graphics aren't everything, and if they haven't been making the game look good, then maybe it's at the very least fun to play, right? Not so much. As a survival sandbox, it suffers from the need of a high initial investment in order to get to the point that you're no longer stuck swinging your club around like a Neanderthal. So until you invest 2 hours dealing with zombies being where you need them not to be, scrounging for wood and plant fibers, and then investing another 12 hours looking for small rocks because they seem to be nowhere ever, just so you can fashion a stone axe that makes resource gathering reliable and more efficient, you're going to be having a bad time. And if you die before you get the chance to put a bedroll down, you get to restart that entire process all over again. This is made worse in multiplayer, where even when allied, you spawn in random locations, oftentimes nowhere near your friend. Which means that besides being under-equipped to handle the issue of the game itself, you have to spend a chunk of valuable daylight just trying to get to each other without one of you dying along the way. That has only happened once. Not something that I would call conducive to a pleasant online experience. That entry cycle of gameplay is so repugnant to me that I rarely ever make it past it, and for 7 Days to Die that sentiment was unavoidable. I never made it to the point where I could actually build something. I know they have some sort of gravity system in which you need to be conscious of your material usage and implement support beams, which seems pretty neat. I also know they have an upgrade system that sounds like it would be satisfying to use. You start with frames, use wood to upgrade it, reinforce it with some other material, etc. That can really make the results of your hard labor feel earned. I also never made it to the 7th day of the game to experience the onslaught of a horde, which is sad given that I assume that's what all the preparation is for, surviving the 7th day, even though that's counter to the title and I really don't understand why they named it that to begin with. Kind of considerate though of the zombies to give you a week between onslaughts. Must take a lot of organization given, you know, the lack of brains. Maybe they aren't such bad guys after all. I also don't want to give the game a false illusion of difficulty. It's not really difficult even in the beginning. Most of the enemies you'll just smack with a club and back away from, hopefully not into another zombie. It's just tedious and repetitive. They absorb so much damage and usually there's more than one of them skulking about, especially if you're in a confined area that seems like it could only house one. And you slowly get whittled down the entire time because you have to get an arm's length of a zombie just to hit him 1,000 times, or you get blindsided. Every time you die and reset, you cripple yourself further by needing to retrace your steps in a shorter amount of time until eventually the game is essentially unplayable for a 20-minute night phase. I'm not sure where my hatred of survival sandboxes in general ends and where my dislike of this game specifically begins, but I know that the game just isn't pleasant for me for one reason or another. Between the tedium of your average gameplay cycle, the eternal development stage, and mediocre graphics, it's hard to find any appeal in it, especially when all of its pieces have been done better elsewhere. The few areas that it innovates in don't really add enough to the formula to make it groundbreaking. Maybe it was better back when it first came out, but it's not aged as well as the influx of fresh games has existed. And with single player being so awful, private multiplayer being only slightly less so, and multiplayer servers being bare bones, it doesn't have much if anything going for it. It looks like it's barely treading water. And for these reasons I say that it earns a 3 out of 10 at best. Thank you everyone for watching, and special thanks to the Fun Pimps for the time they've sunk into 7 Days to Die. I have to give it to you, I'm still seeing fresh updates to the game, and I admire the passion and dedication you've shown in stoking and kindling the flame. It's an ambitious project, and I hope that one day you manage to complete it. I doubt I'll be alive to see that day, seeing as how you guys didn't give me that much time to work with, but Godspeed. Until next time, remember that failure is not the worst case scenario, to glow on with your bad selves, and stay awesome.